without further ado, let's move on a little bit here in our admin update. My compadre here, Dave, I'd like to do a little talking about some pawn shop issues.
Pawn shops, I've heard of those.
This seems so cool on TV.
You guys probably saw it. I did a post talking about how I was dealing with some employee theft. Well, come to find out, learned a couple things about credit card use, learned a couple things about, misuse of vendor accounts, and how an employee can go from hero to zero overnight. In all reality, this was a gentleman who was a rock star. I mean, I would have sent him up with the best of the best. And it was a matter of 48, 72 hours, gone. No way you could prepare for this as a business owner, because you've got somebody dependable as the sun. And then we do this. Well, what happened was, so we learned, kind of noticed a couple things missing, this and that. Working with Johnson County Sheriff's Department. Awesome. Thank you, Deputy, for your help. And he was able to track down the fact that this guy's been working with 5 different pawn companies over the last couple weeks, from brand new in the box items, coming in, day in, brand new in the box. I mean, you got a guy, he looks like shit. I mean, I saw him at his bond hearing the other day, and I didn't even recognize him, and I spent the last 7 months with him.
Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, man. And so we're sitting here and we're dealing, and this guy is going to this pawn shop, that pawn shop, this pawn shop, that pawn shop, and he multiple trips, multiple days. I have 9 pages of what he's pawned in the last 2 weeks. Not all of it's mine. He's found some other stuff from elsewhere.
Some of the same pawn shops too, or is he going to different ones?
No, he went to the 5 different pawn shops.
Multiple times.
Multiple times. Yes.
He didn't recognize a pattern.
And so, there's some things here where you got a guy, and I'm open for discussion with this, but when somebody comes to you with something brand new in the box, looking like hell, the guy didn't buy it, because if he did, he could take it back to the store and even at least get in-store credit. And you're going to give him 65% of the value on something. Well, that's pretty painfully obvious to me that things stolen. Suspicious. Well, I was informed about lobbyists. Pawn shops have great lobbyists. You know what lobbyists are? The guys that help make laws. Well, in Kansas, these laws mean that as the victim, I have a couple options. I can take and go to the pawn shop where my stuff was found, and I can pay them what they chose to pay Mr. Drug Addict's thief for the items that he took from me. That gets the pawn shop back their money immediately. Everything's good, and they go on their merry way. Not what I'm going to do. So the other option is that the sheriff's department can go in, seize the property. We can go through the process of the criminal courts, and then after that, there's a property hearing, and a judge then determines whose property is it. Is it mine, or is it the pawn shop's? And evidently, from what I'm told, that's a teeter-totter. But for me, the sure thing for the pawn shop is paying the pawn shop. I can't even express how that is so wrong.
Sure, you're double paying.
If I, as a resident and a person, buy a piece of stolen equipment, I buy a skid steer, and it turns out stolen.
You're out.
I'm out.
Too bad, so sad.
That's the way it is. There has to be a consequence to the action. In Kansas, there's no consequence to the action for a pawn shop.
Ruh-roh.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's time
to make a change.
Figure this out and make this happen. But you have to know, you can't complain to the pawn shops. Those guys are following the rules. No problems there. Problems are with the lawmakers. And, KC Police, I posted a story in regards to this earlier, and it's from June 9th that KCTV5 did. And it had to do with a sting that Overland Park did about how the pawn shops were buying items that still had the security sensors around them. It's painfully obvious that's shop. So
Casey just chimed in. Even if you show proof of ownership, you have to go through those steps. He's asking a question.
Yeah, we have the serial numbers of the items. We have all of that, and they are our items. we still have to go through, and we have the option to purchase them back at the amount that they gave, or we can go through the process and party pawn shop, party victim, both go without until it goes through the courts. I'm learning this as we go, so I'll continue to update this. This is kind of a story in progress, but wanted to talk about it, let you know how it is. I know a lot of people chimed in on their personal experiences, so that's great. We still look for those. This is an objective conversation. This is not a bashing conversation. This is something where if you don't like how it is, that's how you make a change.